All right, guys, today we're going to be talking about what it's like to live on the north side of Eau Claire. So we're going to highlight neighborhood schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, neighborhood parks, and explain what it's like living in each individual neighborhoods on the north side. Just a reminder, we did a highlight last month on what it's like to live on the south side of Eau Claire. So if you haven't watched that, make sure you guys subscribe and go back and watch that video, and along with the rest of the videos that I have explaining what it's like to live in Eau Claire. Hey guys, we actually just stopped in our first neighborhood, the northwest neighborhood, and this neighborhood here is actually the bulk of a lot of the north. So this is a huge neighborhood, and as I'm walking to the neighborhood, you'll see what the houses look like in the area, and then we're also going to stop at two notable really beautiful parks in the area that a lot of people actually are not aware of, but I have a whole list of parks that as I was doing my research. So no matter where you live or where you buy a house or where you rent from in this neighborhood, you're gonna have a park probably within walking distance. And the other thing is that there is a bunch of elementary schools, early education schools, and also a middle school. So we'll walk around, and Daisy will be our little tour guide today. Right, Daisy? She seems to be a little bashful this morning. And let's get started, guys. So this is the west side of Eau Claire here. As you guys can see, the houses are pretty nice, pretty good area. One thing to notate about the northwest neighborhood here is that although this is a residential neighborhood, there is some rental properties in the area. So I'd probably say this is not a statistic, but there's probably about 20% of the properties in the northwest neighborhood here are rental properties. So majority are owner occupied properties. A lot of parks in the area. It's huge, spans out a long ways. It actually butts up against the Chippewa River, which we're gonna bring you to. And this is gonna be good for you to watch because if you guys haven't been to the area, this is actually a really not well-known park, and it's beautiful. I think it's one of the more pretty parks and low-key parks in Eau Claire. So we'll make sure to go over there, and then other than that, we'll take you guys around the neighborhood and show you some properties. A fun fact about this neighborhood is I've actually lived in this neighborhood for probably about 3 years of time. And a pro about this neighborhood is that there's a really nice grocery store called Festival Foods that borders the edge of this neighborhood here. And also Menards is close by. You got a Caribou Coffee, you got a Dunkin' Donuts, a bunch of gas stations, Quick Ship shout out. We got a bunch of different kind of shopping options over here, but there's not a lot of like outlet type if you need clothing or anything like that. That's more in the south side of Eau Claire. So this, like I talked about in the last video, if you guys haven't watched that, make sure you watch that. I talk about how the south side of Eau Claire is a lot different than the north side of Eau Claire, where there's a lot more development, whereas the north side of Eau Claire is much more residential neighborhoods like this. It's a little bit older neighborhood, so the south side of Eau Claire was developed much later, probably in the 90s or early 2000s, where these neighborhoods were developed in like the early 70s, 80s, 90s. So a little bit older neighborhood. And with that comes the property prices are a little bit lower and more affordable. So property prices in this area span anywhere from, depending on what little pocket you're looking at in this northwest neighborhood over here, span from anywhere probably between like 175 to like, probably these houses around this area are right around 300,000. And so these are probably some of the nicer houses in this neighborhood, and these probably go for 300,000, but you can probably find something as low as like 175, 200,000. Hey guys, this is a Rod and Gun Park in Eau Claire. This is one of my favorite parks. A lot of wedding photography and like senior portraits are done here. Oh, Daisy just jumped out. I hope you got that in the video. So as you guys can see here, this little park here is just a little diamond in the rough. A lot of people don't know about it, and we'll actually walk around and show you guys around and enjoy the scenery. Hey, fun fact, guys. Me and Daisy actually got our gotcha day photos here. So when she was a little puppy, had hired a photographer and we came out here and took some photos. I know you guys really watch these videos to watch Daisy, not me. So I'll make sure I'll put some very cute Daisy photos in the video for you guys. I tell you what, guys, it's not too often that you get this much nature in one location. All right, guys, well, one great thing about this neighborhood is that there are so many elementary schools in this neighborhood. Unless you want me to literally sit here and read off all the different elementary schools off my phone, I'm not gonna waste you guys' time doing that. We're just gonna drop the elementary schools and all the parks that are in each one of these neighborhoods in the descriptions. The second park that we're gonna stop at that's notable, so we just stopped at Rod and Gun Park, and the next park we're gonna go to actually borders the Chippewa River, and we're gonna actually go to what's called High Bridge. So if you guys are traveling to this area and want a couple things to do around the area, make sure you guys go to High Bridge. It's one of the more iconic spots to stop in Eau Claire, because from top of it, you can actually see the hydro dam, and yeah, it's a pretty cool spot. So just a reminder, guys, I am a real estate agent. If you guys are thinking about moving to this area, I have literally shown properties, helped people buy, helped people sell houses, and I've also lived in almost every single neighborhood in Eau Claire at this point. So if you guys are moving to this area, you have specific needs, you have a specific price points you want and budgets you want to stick within, make sure you guys reach out to me. My contact info is in the description, or go to my real estate page, danrealtygroup.com, or just Google us. Either way, you're gonna find us and reach out to us, and we'll chat soon. $1870, dude. This is here since 1870, the beginning of Eau Claire. If you're visiting Eau Claire, High Bridge is what's right behind me, is one of the places you should stop and see. Really cool and very historical spot. It's actually a local historical landmark. And then about 1992, it was abandoned, and it was actually an abandoned bridge just sitting there, unusable for like 20 or 25 years. And then recently they actually revamped it, and now it's a walking bridge. So let's go walk up there. Pretty cool view. So let's go check it out. A little bit more history. As you guys can see, to my left here is the hydro dam. In the late 1800s, one of the coolest, most fun facts that I know about Eau Claire was there was actually a log flume from on top of that dam, which that is Dell's Pond right there. That is Dell's Pond, Dell's Lake. That was actually dammed in the late 1800s to hold lumber. So if you can imagine coming here 140 years ago, all that area up there was just packed with logs from all these different lumber barons, and all of them had a brand on them. So they were all branded so that people downstream knew who that log belonged to in order to pay the right person. So from the top of the dam, a log flume brought logs actually from up there all the way down like a mile, all the way to Half Moon Lake, which was actually the last park we were at. Was when Justin spanned out into that larger body of water, was actually Half Moon Lake. So it's pretty significant spot, that two different parks that we just showed you guys. And like I said, this is also in the northwest neighborhood over here. It's a pretty big neighborhood. It spans about a mile long, and there's a lot of history over here. And yeah, if you guys are in the neighborhood over here, check it out. This is a great spot where a lot of people hike, bike, run, all that stuff. I know we spent a lot of time on this northwest neighborhood area. We're gonna stop, change gears a little bit, and go to a completely different area, and we're gonna talk about downtown Eau Claire a little bit. So I know if you guys have followed this channel, if you're subscribed already, which you're not, you should subscribe. That you guys have kind of gotten the tour of the downtown area, but there is housing down there, which we didn't really talk about much in that video, and which is what this video is all about. So we're next stop, downtown Eau Claire. We'll talk about it a little bit, and it's not a very big neighborhood, so we won't spend a lot of time on it, and then we'll move on to another neighborhood. Hey guys, I'm not gonna spend too much time downtown, but I do wanna mention All right, I'm not gonna spend too much time downtown. However, it is an honorable mention for housing. So downtown Eau Claire, it's gonna be much more apartment. So you can see an apartment back here. There's a lot more hustle and bustle. I will say, as you could see, there's a bus transport down here. So if you need to get around town, there's a whole intra-city bus system that goes around. Another great thing about Eau Claire and down here is that you got two rivers coming together. So the best thing about Eau Claire is it's so naturey, and we got all these different bodies of water everywhere. So pretty much anywhere you live within like 5 minutes of some sort of water view. So that's kind of cool. So you have apartment buildings like this, like I just showed you guys. And then on the other end, closer to UWEC campus, you have older homes that are probably built in like the late 1800s or early 1900s. So pretty much the entire downtown area, it's mostly rental property. So you wouldn't really probably buy something down here necessarily, but you would search for a rental down here. It's a good spot to rent, being so close to everything. All right, one last thing worth mentioning about downtown, actually a couple things. Farmer's market, that's cool. If you guys watch your videos, we walked through the farmer's market before, and this is the downtown grocery store. Eau Claire, that was the one downside about downtown Eau Claire before, is that they didn't have a grocery store. Well, voila, they built one, so now they have one. All right, let's move on to the next neighborhood. So the next neighborhood we're going to, I also lived at in college. I rented a house over there, and we're on our way. And I know you guys have heard me talk about the local store here a couple times. One of my favorite things about Eau Claire is this trolley system, and they just started doing this year. That trolley actually is perfect. If you are visiting Eau Claire for the first time, I would definitely recommend going on a trolley tour because they'll take you all around town. They'll bring you to historic homes, which we talked about in the last video. They'll take you to High Bridge. They'll give you a little bit more in-depth history about it. It's like a 3-hour tour, and they have different options too, like nighttime haunted tours and all sorts of stuff depending on the time of year. So that would definitely be something I recommend. But if you're coming here, you're thinking about moving here, first of all, reach out to me. And then second of all, book your trolley. All right, guys, we are in the Birch Street neighborhood. We're gonna be walking around a little bit, showing you guys the neighborhood. We're actually standing where I lived back in college. So throwback to that. It's kind of like a throwback in my past. So as you guys can see, this is what the neighborhood looks like. This is pretty consistent throughout. A little bit older neighborhoods here. And a lot of these properties around this area are rental properties. But there's actually, so if you're looking to find like an affordable house, this would be a really good spot. You could sometimes find properties to buy under $200,000 in this neighborhood. So if that's your price point, this would be a good area to look. There is a lot of rental properties. My old college house is still a rental property. I know that this one as well. A few of these, I think some of people own, but a lot of these neighborhoods are rental properties. But there is one of my favorite parks in Eau Claire, which is Mount Simon, where I actually had a cookout last year, is on the other end of this. So it's kind of a weird shape. I kind of lumped the Mount Simon into the Birch Street neighborhood. It's not really necessarily exactly in this neighborhood. You gotta drive over this little bridge to get over there, but let's go take a look at that. There is a couple different parks. The two that I'll mention to you guys are McDonald Park, which is funny, we're actually on McDonald Street here right now. So that is actually a pickleball court, and then they have a jungle gym for kids. And it's a good like little grass area. We're not gonna drive to that one, but we will go to Mount Simon next. And Mount Simon is a really, really cool spot. So they have a Fralf course there, disc golf, and they also have a ton of hiking. So it's actually pretty big because you can get a pretty decent hike there. So a lot of people go up to Mount Simon. And there's this little spot called Top of the World. So we'll walk up there because it's definitely worth showing you guys through video. It's one of the highest peaks in Eau Claire. I love going up there. It's just kind of a nice little quick 5-minute hike to do. We'll go up there, and then there's actually some areas where a lot of people go to cliff jumping and rope swinging into that lake up there that I just mentioned. So let's go. Next stop will be there. To remind you guys, make sure you guys like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We started making these YouTube videos a couple years ago, and really the whole page, the whole YouTube channel is dedicated to helping people who live outside of our area figure out what it's like to live in Eau Claire. And the reason why we started doing that is because we realized that there really wasn't that much video content that covered what it was like to live in Eau Claire. And our whole channel is dedicated to helping you figure out what it's like to live in Eau Claire if you're coming to visit, if you're coming for the weekend, if you're coming to move here for a job relocation, or retiring up here. There's a lot of lakes, a lot of fishing, all sorts of stuff like that. If you guys are into that kind of content, we're gonna be putting more stuff out like this. So make sure you guys subscribe. And then also, as you guys know, reminder to reach out if you are looking to buy something in the area, because I'm a licensed realtor here in Eau Claire. So yeah, next stop is gonna be Mount Simon, and we're just pulling into the parking lot right now. We made it to Mount Simon here. Got the truck locked up. Got our photographer back there. We got Daisy. Look at this hill. Whew, I'm winded after that. Well, this is a beautiful spot. This is called the top of the world in Mount Simon. I don't know how many acres it is, but it's big. There's cliff jumping over here. So if you walk around the park, we're not gonna walk down, but there are rivers down there. It's kind of a cool little area. You guys can see Dell's Pond, Dell's Lake down here. We can see a lot of Eau Claire for a year. I'm not sure how much it shows up in the video. Oh, also, by the way, if you guys notice my hat, this is a brand new hat I got last week. It says Eau Claire on it. I'm kind of proud of it. This is my first time wearing it, so I hope you guys like it. You might not be able to tell how far off the ground we are, but we're actually on a cliff that's pretty far. I'm pretty sure if I fell down there, I'd be done for it and you guys would not have any more YouTube videos. So a lot of people use this little area for rock wall climbing. Got a little tie off there and people throw the ropes over and climb up the wall. So if you guys are into rock wall climbing, good spot right here. All right, another neighborhood, guys, that we're not gonna actually drive to today, but there is highlights in other videos of mine. The student housing neighborhood. So a lot of those, obviously the student housing area is a lot of rental properties. It's a lot of like seasonal student rentals. We got a lot of people coming in and out every year. There is a couple of really good parks down there. So Carson Park is amazing. If you guys have not been there, that is probably one of the main parks in Eau Claire that I would definitely recommend you guys going to. You do have an elementary school down there, so it's called Lakeshore Elementary School. And I would say probably 80% of the area is rentals and probably maybe 20% are actually owner-occupied properties. One of the great things about it is that there is a bunch of parks around it. So you got Owen Park, that's a great one. You got, I think, music on like Tuesdays or Thursdays. And then you have a river walk that goes right along the Chippewa River that borders the entire student housing area. Really cool spot. And then you have the kind of like the old downtown Eau Claire, which is Water Street. And there's a lot of college bars and little restaurants and boutique shops and barber shops. So if you are coming to Eau Claire, make sure you guys make your way down to the old downtown Eau Claire, which is like Water Street area, AKA student housing area. That obviously borders the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. I'm alumni, shout out. If you guys are coming around there, we're not gonna go there, but if you guys wanna check it out, drive over there. The next neighborhood we're actually gonna drive to is going to be the Planets neighborhood, which is the furthest north neighborhood. And I would say, I would compare the Planets neighborhood as probably one of the bigger neighborhoods on the north side of town. It's right next to the airport. It's a little bit smaller than the northwest neighborhood that we walked through first. And that's gonna be the last neighborhood that we're actually gonna walk through. There is a good middle school over there. It's called North Star Middle School. I've heard really good things about that place. So let's go take a look at it. The houses over there are pretty dang nice, and we'll show you when we get there. Price points are probably somewhere between $250 to like $350. So the reason it's called the Planets neighborhoods is because it's all of the planets. Like there's Mars Ave, Moon Ave. I know it's not a planet, but you got all the planets that are lined up on the blocks, which is why it's called the Planets neighborhood. So let's go check it out. All right, guys, so the last neighborhood we're gonna stop at today is the Planets neighborhood. The reason it's called Planets is because whoever developed this area back in the day named every single street after a different planet. So kind of cool feature about that. Two really big important things for you guys to know about this neighborhood. Number one is that you have the Chippewa Valley Airport back here. Let's walk down the neighborhood actually so you guys can get an idea of the houses. But the main airport in the area is right here. Go check their website out. They have, I know they just changed to a new company, which actually does one-way trips to all across the country. Pretty cool. I think they go out to Phoenix, Vegas, someplace down in Florida. Pretty cool for a little town like Eau Claire. Let's actually take a walk through the neighborhood so you guys can see what the houses look like over here. If you pan out over here, you can see the real estate over here is probably about in the 70s or 80s as far as in 90s as far as the age of the houses. Houses in this neighborhood, because they're very well kept, you can tell everybody takes care of their lawn really nice. The house is very well kept up. Most of the properties in this area are not rental properties. The majority of them are owner occupied, which just makes the neighborhood really nice, in my opinion. So the second thing to note about this neighborhood, in addition to the fact that the airport's right here, is that there's two big high schools in Eau Claire, Memorial and then North High School. So we're on the north side of town. We're kind of at the northernmost peak of Eau Claire. It's kind of weird because you have Eau Claire and then it kind of just transitions into Lake Hallie and then Chippewa Falls. So there's not really necessarily like a break between the cities. They kind of just transitioned with the neighborhoods into Lake Hallie and Chippewa Falls. But this is the northernmost peak of Eau Claire, the city of Eau Claire, and you got North High School here, and then you have a really good middle school. It's called North Star Middle School, and then you have a bunch of little elementary schools that are scattered throughout this neighborhood as well. I'll make sure I put the list of the different elementary schools in the area, so if you guys are moving to the area and schools are important to you, make sure you do your own research to figure out what's gonna be the best fit for you. The thing to note about this neighborhood, as far as the other neighborhoods where they had grocery stores nearby and gas stations nearby and a bunch of different development, this is probably the furthest away from all that stuff. It's quieter neighborhood, less hustle and bustle. Like you could see downtown, there's people everywhere. This is a very quiet, close-knit neighborhood. If you want to pan out, you can get another idea of another section of this neighborhood. Very well kept. The other thing I want to show you guys is one of my favorite parks in Eau Claire, and one of the best parks in this neighborhood is also on water. It's called Riverside Park. There's actually an island you can walk on, and there's a little beach. So next stop in this neighborhood, we're gonna drive to the other end, and then our last stop of the day will be at the beach. All right, guys, we're on our way to the Riverside Park in the Planets neighborhood. And one thing I forgot to mention to you guys earlier is that the average price point for real estate in this area, if you're looking to buy, is somewhere between $240 to $325. All right, and here we're actually in the Riverview Park area, and in this little entrance right here, there's actually a boat launch that goes into the Chippewa River. So kind of a cool little spot. Up the ways, there's actually an island you can walk out on, and then we're actually gonna show you guys where the beach and the playground area is. So this is the Riverview Park. You can see there's a little beach here. It is like 85 degrees out here and humid. So you can see people are hanging out here. It's a great day for filming actually, because we get to see how people use the place. Good girl. Hey guys, we're back home. That sums up the day. I hope you guys enjoyed our video talking about the north side of town. I hope it helps you guys understand a little bit more about what the different neighborhoods offer and the difference between the south side of Eau Claire and the north side of Eau Claire. Tune in, make sure you guys subscribe. We'll be continuing to put these videos out there. And till next time.